Yes, yes. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Performing the World. Give yourselves a big Zoom round of applause for being here. Thank you, thank you. And once again, big shout out to anyone that is hosting a watch party. We have some more pictures that might be coming in later. Thank you to everyone who was with us this morning for the Pandy's Theater session. But PTW Day 3 continues to roll on. Introducing to the Zoom stage, representing American Friends of the Parents Circle, Lior Ben Zvi. Hey, Lior.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Des. Thanks for having me here. Really great to be with everyone. Today, we're going to be doing something called Listening from the Heart, which I'll explain shortly. My name is Lior. I work with the American Friends of the Parent Circle. And the Parent Circle is a joint Palestinian and Israeli organization made up of over 900 families. Their common bond is that they've all lost a close family member to violence over the years, and they've all chosen a path of reconciliation. And what this looks like is that internally, through sharing their stories, creating community, being in solidarity with one another, it is a sort of restorative healing practice and really strengthens their mission, which is really the external work of education and advocacy in their own communities and societies for helping people meet the other side for the first time. And that takes place on the streets, in protests, going to schools to give talks, doing everything they can to ensure that what they went through, other people don't have to go through. And I work with the American Friends of the Parent Circle. So historically, it is an organization to raise public awareness and funds to support the people on the ground doing this sacred work. And in the last 2 years, it's changed a little bit because so many communities around the world, but especially in the US, started reaching out to us with the kind of cry for help. How do we talk about what's happening there? We're not able to do this without getting at each other's throats. And maybe some of you have felt that in your own communities over the last 2 years. Maybe you've seen it on the news or on social media, permeating through universities and workplaces and communities of faith and all over. So what we did is we partnered with our friends at Georgetown University. They're our academic mentors, and we took a program that we know works for Israelis and Palestinians that are going through it and experiencing it live, this kind of trauma and conflict, and made it work for foreign audiences. So working on dialogue, on listening to the other, on unlearning and relearning, even though you may live very far away from what's happening there. So we're going to go through a little program today, Listening from the Heart. This is what we built with Georgetown and with our Israeli and Palestinian partners of the Parent Circle. And it's a very long program, but we're only going to do a shortened hour-and-a-half version of it today. So what I'm going to invite everyone to do, this is an interactive session. I will invite you to turn on your camera if you feel comfortable, to participate by writing in the chat or raising your hands at time to talk, and really do what you can to be part of it. Because it's by having these conversations that we can learn and move forward together. So the first thing that I like to do when we start these, because this is, I know, a very sensitive topic for people, not just sensitive, but also personal for a lot of people, is establish community guidelines for how we're going to have these conversations. So I'm going to just share my screen and read out some suggested ones from that I'm bringing to the table, but I would love it if you guys have further ideas for community guidelines to write them in the chat. or if you have a question about any of these, to respond to it as well. You can also feel free to raise your hand at any time to talk. So some of my suggested community guidelines are allow for different modes of self-expression. Maybe someone is better at writing or talking, or it takes them more time to think through things. So we're all different in how we process and express ourselves. Speak from personal experience. We all know our version of the news, and this is about ourselves and our feelings. There's no right answer. And I'll add to this that partial answers are okay. It's okay to not know and to have to still ask questions and think through things. To speak and listen honestly. And what's said here stays here, but what's learned here can leave here. And what I mean by that is if you're sharing something personal about yourself, maybe those details stay here, but the larger messages and takeaways, I hope that we can all take them to people outside of just this Zoom meeting. If anyone has further community guidelines, I'd love it if you can put them in the chat or raise your hand. No? Okay. Oh, to be curious. Yeah, I like that one.
Make
Lessons
space,
of improv.
make space and take space.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that means if you're shyer, you can take space. If you're less likely to talk, if you're someone who is very comfortable speaking up and often has something to contribute, then think about it and allow yourself to make space for the quieter voices.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I'm seeing people writing also take time before responding. That's good. Listen and speak with kindness. Yes. All right, great. And as we move forward, feel free to continue writing in the chat if more things come to you, okay? And we're going to remember this because throughout this session, we're going to be chatting with each other a few times. So we're going to come back to this at all times as our community guidelines. So actually, we're going to hop right into it and practice a little bit of listening skills with each other. So what we're about to do is go into breakout rooms, and I'm going to put the directions in the chat as well so that you guys will have them written in front of you, but I'll explain them now shortly. So we're going to be in pairs, and I want you guys to start off by just introducing yourselves, your name, where you're from, whatever you want to share, and decide between you who is person A and who is person B. And we're going to have a minute of one person talking and the other person just share about your day yesterday when you're talking. And the other person is going to do everything in their power to not listen to you. And then we are going to switch and we're going to do the opposite. So person B is going to talk and person A, you're going to do everything you can to be actively listening to that person. Okay. So, Des, do you want to split us into?
Quick question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I heard it right. The first person tries not to listen and the second person does listen?
Yes.
But you're switching who's talking, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll put the instructions in the chat momentarily.
How long should each of us take, do you think?
You're going to be talking for about 1 to 2 minutes, but I'll put a broadcast message when you should switch. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
You guys it'll be clear. And if you ever have a question as we're going through it, you can always write in the chat. I'm here to help. And so is Des and Vivi with answering any questions that you guys have.
Okay, we are good.
All right. So you want to split us into the
Sure.
breakout rooms and we'll send a message when it's time to switch. Welcome back, everyone.
We didn't see your sign to switch.
Oh,
No.
really? I
Yeah.
had sent a broadcast message. I'm sorry. Oh, man.
Yep. Well,
We saw it even though we weren't listening.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
We switched even though we weren't watching.
We spent the whole time not listening.
Oh, okay. Did that happen to everyone?
Happened to us.
Yeah, it happened to us.
Us too.
Yeah,
I didn't see you.
we switched, we made something up.
Yeah, we switched.
Yeah, we switched.
We said it must be a minute or two.
We listened.
I
All
was
right.
starting to think, I think we probably should have switched already, but we didn't.
He was just enjoying not listening to me.
Fun.
Well, you know,
It was fun.
we chatted at the beginning quite a bit. And we were listening to each other, and then we went, wait, you know, and so then we switched, and Rochelle was the partner of this person. and it was deeply painful. It was so horrible to not listen, which we were pretty good at, but it raised 103,000 issues. So I just want to say the act of not listening was horrible, just terrible.
What was horrible
As
about
the
it?
recipient, oh, go ahead.
Well, we had started chatting about how I feel so close to Rochelle, but we've never maybe ever met in person. And, you know, I've been wanting to get to know her better. And then we went to the, us not listening, Rochelle telling about her day. And it was so it started being racist. It started being so rejecting, so opposite of what I had just been sharing with Rochelle. And it was so hard to do that at the end, I just said, I can't do this. I'm listening to you. So
Well,
that's
you did it beautifully, but I missed the racist part of the whole thing. And
well,
I felt so normal with you guys not listening. It's sort of the story of my life. People on their phones, people, excuse me just a minute, I gotta go to the bathroom. I mean, whatever. Or people not looking, like you guys wouldn't look at me. And but that was so normal. I mean, I felt at home actually with the whole thing, having to repeat myself and then forgetting what it was that anybody was saying anyway. But it was so normal. It was so normal.
For me, Marta Llanos was the most fascinating experience because I was referring yesterday, the key point of the session, although I couldn't attend all of them, has been the testimony of a small child of 12 years old that was presenting from Medellin, who brought the issue of seeds becoming trees. And for me, that was a symbolic metaphor to deliver many things, to realize how little we listen the voices of children and how adults' power, in a sense, are continue being exercised as parents or as adults or teachers. You know, so in this case, it was fascinating. It was by an adult that didn't listen to me, but I was strongly making advocacy of how wonderful was the voice of that Iraida or whatever was the name of that Medellin small girl, you know. And it seems to me that the more I was not listening, the stronger my voice got. And I realized then something very interesting. The person, and in this case was Mary Friedley, not listening to me, she was making a lot of movement, a strong movement. And then when I listened carefully to her, I was totally silent and paying attention. But on the other hand, I said, no one have the capacity to read my mind. I could be silent and not paying attention. So really, it makes me reflect on how we could use indicators, because if, in action, I was really strongly listening to her. Even she was talking about forgiveness, and I realized forgiveness need to get into the body as well with movement. But I said, wow, we have to check indicators. I could be paying attention and not paying any attention and thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch today. So you see, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I love that. And Gloria, I'll let you talk in just a moment, because actually something that you said, Martha, is a great segue to what I wanted to bring up, which was a question of what are the indicators? What are these indicators? What do you do to not listen? What do you do to listen? What does that look like in practice? Gloria, I know you had your hand raised. Did you want to share? It doesn't have to be about that.
Hi. Yeah. I just, am I off? Yes, you can hear me. Okay. I too had the experience of, I was very comfortable not being listened to. And I was thinking about how in a world where you expect people not to listen to you, it's really, I hadn't thought about that. You don't expect people to really listen to you, not really. So I'm very comfortable. I was very comfortable with that. And in fact, I can see how it can help you, support you to get into yourself. Like what a world that reinforces individualism and going into yourself, because I was kind of like doing this whole thing on my own, and I was kind of enjoying it because I was used to it. So, but it's kind of sad if you think about it. It reinforces that you don't need to be connected. Oh boy.
Thanks for sharing. Lisa and Maureen.
So I just wanted to, I had a little bit of the opposite of what I think Martha was saying in terms of, I mean, I think I was doing the not listening. First of all, I was in a breakout room with my closest friend for the last 40 years, or more, Carrie, reminded me, Louis, of you and your 6th grade teacher being put in a breakout room together. And I was doing everything outwardly indicating that I wasn't listening. I took out my phone. I was, took out a piece of mail. I was, looking all over. I wasn't looking at Carrie, and yet I was still listening. I think I was. It's very hard for me, actually, I think, to not listen. So I was performing not listening, but I don't know. And I don't know if that would have been different with someone that I didn't know well.
Right.
I also know, Carrie, you said you found the experience very hard.
It was a very odd experience because Lisa's actually an incredibly good listener. So to watch, I did have a sense she was listening. And I had a similar experience to Gloria of once I accepted it, it was really disturbing how easy it was to just do my monologue and not worry so much about whether I was being listened to. We didn't switch, so I didn't have the other experience, but it was very bizarre to do that with Lisa, given how good a listener she is.
Yeah. I see Cheryl, David, and Alice are raising your hands, but I don't remember which of you raised your hand first, unfortunately.
David.
Okay.
I'll be brief. I was Gloria's partner. I heard every word and could have repeated them back. I found it really difficult to not listen. I was looking out the window. I was checking texts. I mean, I think it was Jan who put in the chat, they call it, right? Yeah. Multitask. I realized how experienced at this particular kind of multitasking I am. And maybe many of us who live in urban environments. I'm in New York City. Oh, should put that in my name. Was also, I mean, Gloria is a compelling conversationalist, and I know her for many years. So and Gloria, you were talking about a session I was at, and I was really interested to hear what your experience was. So it was really a hard thing to do, but so interesting that you were able to do a monologue. And I guess I performed not listening well enough to fool you. So that's what I have to say.
I guess it comes to show that even though you think you're listening and you can hear it, it's also about the person that's sharing and their experience, how they're taking, if you're listening or not. Yeah. Cheryl, go ahead.
As other people are talking now, I realize to try to not listen was so hard for me. I forgot that I could perform not listening. And, because I was talking with somebody that I don't know him well, but we were also in a 6-week class together earlier this year. And I'm like, we're talking, here we are together, but I'm not listening. It was just really hard to perform not listening. It just went out the window. Didn't even occur to me that I could pretend I'm not listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Alice, and then Sue, and then I think we'll move on to the next portion of
Yeah, I had a short one with Barb, and if somebody else already said this, I wasn't listening, but I was the person talking about my day, and Barb was not listening, but I was so focused on myself that I wasn't even looking at Barb until the end and noticing that she was like playing with her phone and everything else. So it was more like I didn't even care if she heard me or not. You know what I mean? Like you could do that where you just want to say stuff. And what am I trying to say? You have to want to have the person you're talking to listen to you and hear you. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
So my performance of not listening was more to redirect the conversation and keep changing the topic. I didn't even think about the things other people are talking about, like looking away and playing with my phone. I just changed the topic and kind of found something wrong with everything Howard was saying. It was actually hard to do. I agree with someone Emily who spoke. It was hard to keep doing it. We did switch, and then I got to be listened to. But anyway.
And how did it feel for you to be listened to?
Oh, I mean, I was with Howard, and I love Howard, even though we don't talk very often. It was joyous. It was fun.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you guys to just use the reaction button on the bottom, or you can use the chat feature. Just a show of hands. How many people, when you were doing some of this not listening things, even if you are actually listening, the actions that you were doing, how often have you felt yourself actually do that in your regular life? Do you find yourself checking your phone when someone's talking, or even if you want to be engaged with what they're saying? Has that happened to you?
Yes.
Yeah. And okay. And how often do you guys, well, you guys all seem like good listeners. So I'm curious though, how often you actually practice, okay, intentional listening. I'm going to listen to this person now. Just a show of hands.
Attention.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys a video now. And I know this was just kind of general talking and listening. I'm glad to see that a lot of you guys know each other and feel comfortable with sharing and listening to each other. And I know that the topic of this session actually was having conversations as it relates to Israel and Palestine, which we haven't done yet. And we're going to start delving into it. It's really important for me to lay a groundwork for just basic listening skills before we get into it, because of how personal it is for people. And actually, what we're going to start with is a video. This is a video of two members of the parent circle. They are both bereaved fathers. They have both lost their daughters. They were both of their daughters were killed. One when she was 10, one when she was 14, many years ago, actually. And these two are actually very close friends. They used to be co-directors of the organization. If any of you have read the book A Paragon by Colin McCann, they are the main focus of that novel. And I think in last year's Performing the World, I believe both of their sons actually led a session, if anyone was there. So we're going to listen to Rami and Bassam, that's their names. And if you guys have something to write with, I always find for me it's helpful to have something to just, there's a lot of feelings that come up, something to write down these feelings. I want us to also reflect on some of the listening skills that we just practiced with them to try to be as present as you can, even though it's a video, to be as present as you can with their stories and with their sharing. Yeah, and I want you also, I'm going to invite you to think about yourself and how you're reacting to the things that they're saying. How does it make you feel when you hear certain words or phrases or movements, whatever, like what comes up within you for it. And then also I just want to acknowledge that this is a heavy topic. It includes loss, it includes violence. And if you feel like you need a moment to just decompress or anything, we're not going to stop the video, but take the time that you need. If you need to just mute it for a second, to just grab a tissue near you or something, do what you need to do for yourself, because it is a heavy topic. So just putting it out there.
In progress.
And just make sure everyone is muted so that we don't have outside sounds interrupting the video. So Des, do you want to go ahead and share it?
تعال ابو عرب. This Palestinian terrorist to my left is my dear brother Bassam Aramin, and he's the closest person to me on earth. He's much closer to me than many of my own people, many of my own family. What makes us so close is the price that we both have paid as an outcome of this ongoing conflict between our two nations. We share the same kind of pain. We don't need words to understand each other. For me, Bassam is a leader, and I look up to him, and I admire him, and I take a lot of strength out of him and my other brothers and sisters, Israelis and Palestinians, members of this unique organization of ours, which is known by the name of the Parent Circle, the Israeli-Palestinian Bereaved Families for Peace, which is probably the only organization on earth that does not seek new members. My name is Rami El-Hanan. I'm a 74 years old graphic designer living in Jerusalem. I was born in Jerusalem, 7th generation. My mother was born in the old city of Jerusalem, an ultra-Orthodox Jewish family. My father came to this country in 1946 after spending 1 year in Auschwitz. He was very badly wounded in the 48 war. She was the nurse that took care of him, and this is the reason why I'm able to speak to you right now. I am a Jew, I'm an Israeli, and before anything else, I am a human being. The story I'm about to tell you starts and also ends on one particular day of the Jewish calendar, which is known by the name of Yom Kippur. You know, Yom Kippur is the holiest day of the year. This is the day where we ask forgiveness for our sins. On this very day, 50 years ago, I was a very young soldier, fighting this horrible October 73 war. We've started it with a company of 11 tanks. We finished it with only 3. And I've lost over there in the desert of Sinai, across the Suez Canal, some of my very close and best friends, and I came out of it a very angry and bitter and disappointed young man with one determination: to detach myself from any kind of involvement, from any kind of activity. I got out of the army. I went to Bezalel Art School to become a graphic designer. I met my wife and got married, and I had 4 kids. And 40 years ago, on the very eve of Yom Kippur, September 1983, my daughter was born in Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. Her name was Smadar. The name Smadar is taken from the Bible, the Song of Solomon. It means the grape of vine, which means the opening of the flower. And she really was a very sparkling and vivid and joyful and energetic little girl. She was very beautiful. She was an excellent student. She was a swimmer. She was a dancer. She played the piano. She was amazing. And everybody used to call her the princess. And we lived a very good life in our house in Jerusalem. My wife, which is a professor for education in the Hebrew University, my three boys, and this princess, in what seemed to be the perfect, sheltered, protected lives. In so many ways, you could say that we put ourselves inside a big bubble, completely detached from the outside world, minding our own business. I was doing graphic design for the left wing, for the right wing, whoever paid me. And life was very comfortable and beautiful, and this went on until about 26 years ago. On the 4th of September 1997, just a few days before Yom Kippur, this bubble of ours was blown up to millions of pieces. Two Palestinian suicide bombers blew themselves in Ben Yehuda Street in the center of Jerusalem. They've killed 5 people that day, including these 3 little girls. One of these girls was my 14 years old Smadar. It was Thursday afternoon and the beginning of a very long and a very cold night, which continues until today. At first, when you hear about the explosion, you keep hoping that maybe this time this finger will not turn towards you. Gradually, you find yourself running in the streets trying to find her. She completely vanished. You go from hospital to hospital, from police station to police station, many long and frustrating hours, until eventually very, very later that night you find yourself in the morgue in Abu Kabir, and this finger is stuck right between your eyes, and you see this sight which you will never ever be able to forget for the rest of your life. And then you come back home. The house immediately is filled with thousands and thousands of people coming to pay respect, to offer condolences. These are the 7 days of the Jewish mourning periods called Shiva. And you are kind of enveloped by these thousands of people in a very clever traditional way that is designed to ease your passage to the new kind of life which expects you. On the 8th day they go home. Suddenly you are left alone. You need to wake up. You need to stand up and face yourself. And you have to make a decision. What are you going to do now with this new unbearable burden on your shoulders? What are you going to do with this new personality of yourself, which you never thought could have existed? What are you going to do with this anger that eats you alive from within? And there are only 2 ways to choose from. The first one is obvious. When someone kills your 14 years old little girl, you are so angry and you want to get even. This is natural, this is human, this is the way most people choose, the way of revenge and retaliation, this way that creates this endless cycle of violence which never stops. But then after a while, you start to think, we are human beings, we are not animals, we can use our heads. You start asking yourself questions. Will killing anyone will bring her back? Will causing pain to someone will ease this unbearable pain? Well, the answer is certainly not. So in a very graduate and complicated process, you come to the other option, which is much more complicated and difficult, trying to understand what happened here. Why did it happen? How could such a horrible thing take place? What can cause someone to be that angry, that mad, that desperate, that hopeless, that he is willing to blow himself up with 14 years old little girl? Do you have some kind of connection to it yourself? Maybe some kind of responsibility? And the most important question of them all, what can you do personally in order to prevent this unbearable pain from other people, from other families? Well, it's not easy. It takes time. It took me almost a year. Foolishly enough, I thought that I could go on with my life pretending as if nothing ever happened. Tried to lead a normal life, go back to my studio. But nothing was normal anymore. I was not the same person anymore. And about a year later, on some occasion, I met a big man who changed my life completely. His name was Yitzhak Frankenthal. We started talking. He told me about his son, Arik, a soldier who was kidnapped and murdered by Hamas in 1994. And about this organization that he created of people who lost their loved ones, Israelis and Palestinians, who have decided to join forces together and create peace. And I looked at him and I remember that he was one of these thousands and thousands of people that came to my house a year before during the 7 days of mourning. And I went crazy. I was so angry with him. I asked him, how could you do it? How could you step into someone's house who just lost his daughter and talk about peace? How dare you? And he, being the great man that he is, was not insulted. He just invited me over. And I was a little bit curious. I said, okay. It was 25 years ago. I was standing aside, very detached, very reluctant. The meeting took place in our late President Ezer Weizmann's house. And I was watching those people coming down from the buses. And from the buses came down people that, for me, as an Israeli patriot, were always living legends. People I used to look up to them. I used to admire them. I used to read about them in the newspapers, and I never ever thought that one day I will become one of them, people who lost their loved ones. And then I saw something else. Then I saw something which was completely new to me, to my eyes, to my mind, to my soul. I was standing there watching the Palestinian bereaved families coming down from the buses, walking towards me, shaking my hand for peace, hugging me, crying with me, and I was so deeply moved and so deeply shocked. You see, I was 47 years old at the time, and until today I'm ashamed to admit it was the first time ever in my life I have met Palestinians as human beings, not as workers in the streets, not as terrorists, not as transparent people, as human beings who carry exactly the same burden that I carry, who suffer exactly like I suffer. And I was so moved. I remember seeing this old Arab lady coming down from the bus with this long black traditional Palestinian dress. And she had a picture of a 6-year-old kid on her chest, exactly like my wife carried the name of our daughter Smadari on hers. I'm not a religious person, I'm afraid. I have no way of explaining what happened to me back then, 25 years ago. All I can tell you is that from that moment on until today, I devote my life to go everywhere possible, to talk to anyone possible. People who want to listen, people who will not listen. To convey this very basic and very simple message which says we are not doomed. This is not our destiny to keep on killing each other in this holy land of ours forever. It's not written anywhere, and we can change it, and we can break once and for all this endless cycle of violence and revenge and retaliation. The only way to do it is simply by talking to each other, because it will not stop unless we talk. I believe deeply that one can teach himself how to listen. I believe that once you are able to listen to the pain of the other, you can expect the other to listen to your pain. And then, only then, together, start this very long journey towards reconciliation, maybe some kind of peace in the end. It's a very long and bumpy road. There are no shortcuts. But this is the only way possible, because the other way leads to nowhere. And the price of the other way is really horrible. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. So we are banging our heads against this high wall of hatred and fear that divide our two nations today. And we put cracks in it, crack after crack. And through these little cracks, a little light comes in. A little light can drive away a lot of darkness until we will put those walls down, because the alternative is too painful. So we go around the country. We go from high school to high school. We talk to Israeli kids. We talk to Palestinian kids. And we tell them that our pain is exactly the same pain, that our blood is exactly the same color, and our tears are just as bitter. And if we who have paid the highest price possible, if we who have every reason on earth to want to kill each other, if we can call each other brother, anyone can, anyone should. Thank you very much for listening.
So my name is Bassam Aramin. I am a Palestinian. I born in 23rd of June 1960. I spent 7 years in the Israeli jails when I was 17 years old by joining a group of students at the age of 13. We start by raising the Palestinian flag, then we find some old weapons. My friends use it against the Israeli army. No one killed, no one injured because they don't know how to use it in a professional way. And I find myself at the age of 17 in the Israeli jails for 7 years. I learned in jail, if you know your enemy, you can defeat him or you can kill him. If you only hate him, you will kill yourself. And I decide that I want to kill my enemy and not myself, so I start to study Hebrew, the language of the enemy, to know how to kill Rami in that time. Sorry, it's not personal. A few months later, by chance, I watched a movie about the Holocaust, which was, for me, a big lie. It never happened. Simply, I believe that I discovered the Holocaust in that day. After I want to enjoy seeing this movie as kind of revenge, then I found myself crying, get sympathy with those innocent people. Then I decide that I want to know more about this big lie about the Holocaust, which led me after many years after that to make my master degree about the Holocaust in Bradford University in the UK. But for me, and after that, of course, I understand that I feel kind of responsibility or, I don't know, shame, because I don't know anything about the Holocaust, simply. Especially when I understand that we are the victims of the victims, so we need to know exactly what happened. It's a long process. In fact, everything around you as a Palestinian push you to be violent, push you to fight. So it's not easy to decide to go to the other way, which is the right way in my eyes, but it's very difficult. It's very easy to go to fight. Everyone is ready to fight. But it's not easy to go to talk. It's totally different. But someone in jail convinced me that after we defeat them even militarily, we need to sit down and talk to them. And I cannot understand that. For me, he was like maybe crazy because he spent 17 years. Then I start to believe that why we didn't talk now? Why we need to kill each other? Maybe we will save thousands of lives. I get released in 1992. After 7 years, I still believe in armed struggle. It was the most difficult period in my life, of course. 93, suddenly we have Oslo Agreement. We have peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And I start to see the young Palestinians who support to throw stones. The Israeli soldiers, they go over the jeeps and give them flowers. And I say to myself, we are crazy people after 40 years of occupation, of oppression. Instead of to break their heads, we give them flowers. What's that mean? And in fact, it's like a process to decide that I will never use or support armed struggle, not because I want to be gentle to the occupiers or to the other side, because it doesn't work. It's very simple. And the evidence, we use it for more than 100 years. Until now, Israel is not safe and Palestine is not free. But more blood, more pain, more victims. So let us use the other way. In fact, I can see the majority of the Israelis and the Palestinians at that time, they have hope that finally we are going to live in peace. They support this agreement. And myself, I said, I want to create a normal life. That's it, because we have peace. So I get married. I thought this was the right choice to do. I was young at that time because I discovered that I put myself in the other jail forever with my own hands, with my full will. And then suddenly I have 6 kids. This is my contribution to the Palestinian national struggle. It's just to keep my kids, to protect them, to educate them, and this was my mission. I decided that I'm not going to allow to my son to be in the Israeli jails for 7 years because he don't know or because he wanted to throw stones or to raise the flag. Because I am here and I know how to raise them up. This is what I thought. In fact, it's very painful to say that if you live in Palestine and Israel, it's still not the same level, but still you have no safe place for yourself. You cannot protect yourself and you cannot protect your kids. Then, in fact, until 2002 and 3, I started to hear in the Israeli media about the refuseniks, which is ex-Israeli soldiers and officers who refuse to serve in the occupied territories or in Palestine because they love Israel, because it's against the Jewish values and it's against the Zionist values, which is very strange for us, the Palestinians. Zionist with values, it doesn't work. So I wish to meet those people to understand why they really refuse. Until 2005, we had the first meeting between 4 Palestinians, ex-prisoners, with 7 ex-Israeli officers and soldiers, which was the most difficult meeting in my life. For the first time, you're going to meet your, not ex-enemy, your enemy, your occupier, your killer, your jailer, your settler. And for them, for the first time, they're coming to me, they're terrorists, they're mechablim, they're killers, without their weapons, without the unit, without the tank. We can see the fear in their eyes. And from this meeting, which continued for 4 hours, we decide to make another meeting and another meeting. We continue to meet for 1 year. So in fact, in the end of this year, we create Combatants for Peace. And our slogan was what Nelson Mandela says: if you want to make peace with your enemy, you need to work with your enemy. This is how I get to know or to meet this noble enemy in 2005. We discovered that we share the same kind of values. We respect each other, we respect human beings, and we support Israelis and Palestinians. We understand that both of us have the right to exist and to live in peace and security. And we became a very close friends since from the first meeting. In fact, I believe he fell in love with me. Always I want to ask Rami about Smadar, his daughter. Many questions, in fact, and I believe I know everything. I know exactly what you feel. I'm a father. But always I said, sometimes we make jokes, sometimes like we look like normal human beings. So I said, why I need to invest in more sadness? Maybe he forget. Maybe in other occasion I will ask him. In fact, until this happened to me, after the 16th of January 2007, when I lost my 10-year-old daughter Amir by an Israeli border police from a distance of 15 to 20 meters in her head from the back in front of her school. She fell down, and 2 hours later, I received my brother Rami and his wife, and more than 30 Israeli families who stay with me 3 days until Abir passed away. Then I sent to Rami a letter. I said to him, now I understand that you never forget and you will never forget. In fact, 2 days after I lost my daughter, I joined the parent circle because I know Rami 2 years before. And always I said that I am very familiar with these great people who come together after such tragedies. But in my worst dream, I don't want to join this amazing group. So always Rami said that we have no choice to join the parent circle. Since then, we are on a journey towards the other side. And in fact, what we say always that when we talk to the others, we just try to renew our commitment to ourselves. Because always I said that the Israelis will never give up their safe place after 3,000 years of slavery and discrimination and anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. And I don't believe that the Palestinians will never, ever accept the Israeli occupation, even after 3,000 years. So as long as the occupation continues, unfortunately, we will continue to sacrifice the blood of our kids from both sides. We must be free, we must live side by side or together. This is our our choice. Just to live side by side, to respect each other. This is what we need.
Right, I know that was heavy, and thank you for listening and being here with it. I'm going to give us some time to just individually process. If you guys have something to write with, you're welcome to write for yourself. I'm going to read out some questions, just some guiding questions for you guys to think through. And I'll also put the questions in the chat as I talk. So the first question is just to write down what feelings you're left with coming out of that video after watching it. And you can keep thinking about one, or if you want to move forward, the next question is, when did you notice your empathy activated? Maybe it was a moment or a word. And alternatively, I'm going to ask, when did you notice your empathy challenged? Or if you felt some sort of tension at some point that came up. Another question you can use to reflect is, did anything surprise you? Or anything you didn't expect? Maybe in how you felt also, if you were noticing your reactions to certain things. All right, take another minute to just write down your last thoughts, either for yourself or in the chat if you want. Thank you, everyone. We're gonna move shortly to breakout rooms again to discuss a little bit of our takeaway feelings. And the way we're going to do it is I want to focus actually on two of the questions that I asked in this reflection exercise, which was, when did you feel your empathy activated? And when did you feel your empathy challenged? And a tool that we use a lot at the parent circle is that we think about this as there's a lot of layers to whatever it is that we're thinking, right? So we all have our political beliefs or attitudes or opinions, but below that, there's feelings that inform that, right? So I'm going to share my screen and show you an example. So for example, if someone hears from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Maybe for one person that activates their empathy, and at the same time, it could challenge someone's empathy or trigger them, right? So for example, the person that is feeling activated and empathizing with that statement, maybe it's because one of their feelings behind it is hope. Maybe someone who their empathy is challenged behind it, or feels triggered by that statement, maybe it's because the feeling that's underneath that challenge is fear. So what I'm going to ask us to do in a moment, Des will help split us up into small breakout rooms of a couple people. And I want us to go around and for people in the group to share about a moment that either triggered them or activated their empathy. Maybe triggered is the wrong word. That either challenged their empathy or activated it. And explore what is the feeling that is behind it. And you guys can think about that now before we go into the breakout rooms, because I am sharing the screen with all of these different emotions behind it. And just think about this for yourself. And what I want us to do is to work with each other to help us with it. So you can help each other by asking, I'm noticing that you're feeling anger. Is that right? For example, like ask and receive affirmation from the person, and that's what they're talking about. Does that make sense to people? Does anyone have questions before we move into the breakout rooms with this? If you do, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. Yeah, thumbs up. You guys understood what we're doing? Okay. So I'm going to leave this up here just for another like 10 seconds. Think about, again, your moment where your empathy was challenged or activated during the video from what Rami and Bassam said. And think about some of these feelings. Maybe you have feelings outside of just these ones. These are just suggestions. And then Des, when you're ready, you can move us to the breakout rooms. And I'll put the instructions in the chat as well for everyone.
Oh, let me just read it.
So we're good to go?
Yeah. I'll stop sharing. Welcome back, everyone. Just going to wait another moment for people to re-enter the main room. Welcome back.
Great to be back. Alex, I hope you have a chance to say what you want to say.
All right. Yeah, we're towards the end of our meeting. So what I want maybe is to, if maybe one person from each breakout room can raise their hand and share just some highlights from their conversation, or you guys can put it in the chat as well. We're just a lot of people, so I'll ask to raise hands if someone wants to share generally what they shared about in their breakout rooms or experienced.
Gloria, you whetted our appetite. So I think you or Alex should speak.
Alex, I think you should speak. It would be great to hear from you since we had to get cut off. Are you okay with that?
If you guys don't feel comfortable sharing on speaker, that's okay also. You can write in the chat some takeaways that you have.
I'm just saying, if she's okay with it.
Yeah, we were ending off with thinking about the limits of empathy for people who condition and coerce other people into committing horrendous acts. You know, and I was just wanting to say, you know, the mind-boggling nature of how young people become soldiers and committing just horrendous acts, and you know, that's where we were toying with who do we have empathy with, or where are the limits of empathy within those kinds of situations. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we ended off, about the limits of empathy, and even having empathy with, you know, the young soldier that might have shot somebody in the head, you know, who has been conditioned in the most appalling way, but never started off life with those attitudes or that lack of humanity.
Thank you for sharing. I see Jessie is also raising her hand.
Yes. Louis and Jan and I were in a room. We talked about and shared how moved we were by listening to the two, to Rami and Bassam, and Lou shared a person, what it resonated or brought memory of loss, personal loss for him. He shared that, gave his tears, and as I'm sure many of us did watching the video. And the Jan was talking about their having learned about each other's history. Rami, when he was in prison, learning about the Holocaust and studying about it, and how both of them grew through that. And there was also something of a conversation about whether this would work. Would this work? Would this solve the problem? Would this result in a two-state solution or something? And I felt very, you know, sort of strongly emotionally that this is so important, so important and inspiring, and makes such a big difference, that there's so much that could be done with this. If we could share this with the world, you know, for people in Palestine and Israel and beyond, that you know, I felt was very important. And perhaps Lou was saying perhaps the first steps to saying the abolitionists didn't end slavery, but it led to movements and further developments, and perhaps this would allow for further development. But I'm so happy and moved by this movement, by what you're doing, the Parent Circle and Combatants for Peace, that I think it is worth investing, you know, everything that we can in supporting it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a universal message, because there are so many I don't even want to say polarized, because it's obviously more than that, but these types of it's seemingly intractable situations all over the world, and also here in the US, that I think people can learn from listening. Yeah. Carrie, and then Rochelle, and then I think we'll move on because we're near the end.
I think one of the main things we talked about, I was with Barbara and Dean and Chris, and then Arlene joined us, but she hadn't seen the video. One of the things that really struck me and what people shared was I don't think we actually talked about empathy. I don't think we experienced it as that. We experienced the love that these two men had for each other, and had is a funny word because we experienced more the activity that they chose to love each other. And then I think, just speaking for myself, again, why it didn't feel like empathy, and I felt this yesterday with Combatants for Peace. It's sort of the first time, both of these, where I felt like the conversation was not about getting over anything or understanding the other side. Even though I agree with the history piece, but it was more, oh, we could create something together without having to decide if we agree, or even fully understand that we could decide to go. We are compelled to go forward together without knowing if we're right or wrong. And maybe speaking to what Alex says, we're compelled to go forward together, less manipulated by the stories. And I, for one, found that extremely helpful in my own day-to-day experience of this particular conflict and conversation. So, but love was really what we talked about more than empathy.
Interesting. Yeah, they can go hand in hand, often do. Yeah. Rochelle?
I feel like we were all in the same breakout room in a way. In ours, Lois really started our conversation, and when she said history is now, it just kind of encapsulated my experience of what we're doing as we're doing it. We're doing what we're doing as we're doing it. And when she said history is now, and we continue to create conversation together, people that wouldn't necessarily be on the same page either, just the sheer connectedness of what the activity was itself. And I was so happy, is it Leor?
Yeah.
Or that you had us do this, because the conversation was kind of the medium for us to do this that we're trying to do with people. And it takes the demon out of the demonizing of people when we get to know the least little thing about each other. And I think conversation is the way that happens. And also the play, the exercises that you had us have that effect of bringing us together. And I think this is so powerful, what we're doing. And I think each of us knows at least 7 other people. So when we leave here, my guess is a lot of environments are going to be changing, as if they aren't already. But I think we're bringing what we're bringing when we leave here too, like one of those things said. So thank you, everybody, for the presentations and for your conversation that I would like to continue.
Yeah. Thank you for your kind words. And actually, like you said, there is some sort of, I see it as like a responsibility of taking what do you do now that you've heard these stories, right? What do you do now that you've practiced what it feels like to listen and to not listen, and to peel back your layers of your empathy or lack thereof, and where that comes from? Like I said, this is a small part of a larger program. So if you guys are ever interested in bringing this to your community, you can reach out to me and I'll connect you. It's on demand. We have like a full curriculum, and you can run it for your own group of people. And I know there's a few more people raising their hands, but we really are towards the end of this, so we don't have too much more time for open sharing. But I will ask a question, and I think Des wanted to collect people's responses on a whiteboard, of what is something that you're taking away from this. You can write it in the chat. You can write it in the whiteboard that Des is about to put up and explain. And I really want to welcome us to continue this conversation, either with someone outside of this Zoom meeting or with the people that are here. I'll also put my email in the chat, and you're very, very welcome to reach out and to be in touch about it. Des, do you want to explain the whiteboard?
Yes, we're going to be opening up the whiteboard for people to just share their thoughts, feelings, what resonated with them, anything they would like to share. And people can use the markers, the post-its, the shapes. We've been doing it after each session, so we're just going to do this for 2 minutes. I'm gonna 30 more seconds. All right, thank you so much, everyone, sharing on the whiteboard. Once again, let's give Lior Benz V a big round of applause in the parent circle, friends of the parent circle. Let's give them a big, big, big round of applause for being with us at this Performing the World.
And to all of you for participating, hopping right into it, being open, sharing, commenting, being part of this. So thank you so much. It wouldn't have been possible without you guys and your participation. So
Thank you once again, Lior.
yeah, thanks, guys.
Following this session at 3 p.m. Eastern Times is Bakando Peace Camp, Healing the Wounds of Civil War Through Play and Performance. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, concluding today's Performing the World session, is Zip Talks short sessions presented with zeal, intimacy, and passion. We will see everyone in about an hour and a half. Thank you so much for attending this session. Once again, thank you, Lior. And
Thank
Parent
you,
Circle,
Des.
see you later.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.